Good evening, good night, good morning, wherever you are. This is Lolita with whatever Lolita wants, Lolita gets. It is nighttime where I am, and I am winding down to go to sleep, and some things were on my mind. Um, I hear people, various people from all different backgrounds, whatever, speak of a higher power or God, what we call God, being love. God is love. God is love. Uh, and I do believe that what we call God, the energy, the power, the being, higher power, that there is a loving nature there. However, that loving nature or the nature of divine or higher power or what we call God is balanced. And so, love from a balance standpoint is not what human beings, the majority of human beings that I hear speaking about love and light, or God is love, that balance and the love within that balance is not what is being purported by human beings that speak on love, God being love, love and light. Okay? Real love does have a balance to it. Being a mother, my children are grown now, 30 and 32. I love my son and daughter dearly. I mean, dearly. To the point, and I've said this before, that I will tell them sometimes, you know, you're on my A list, right? And they each have their own A list. They can't even have their names on one sheet of paper on one A list. They both have their own A list, and they're the only name on it. And so I'll tell them from time to time, you know, you're on my A list, right? Mama, we know. Ooh, Mama, we know. That's two people that know that their mother loves them, and their father does too. My ex-husband, their father. Anywho, but I'm talking about telling my story right now. I love them, and I am the same mother. I'm going to give you an example with my son when he was in elementary school. And y'all, I didn't know I was going to take this route, but just, if you care to listen. When he was in elementary school, he had the teacher that he had, and I forget the grade it was, had been his teacher for a couple of months. But then she got another position at another school. And I remember going into my children's room, and he was crying. He was in elementary school. And I was like, what's wrong? And he turned out he was crying because his teacher was leaving. And he really liked his teacher. And he wanted to take her some a 6-pack of Dr. Pepper because that was her favorite drink that she would like to have for lunch. So, he wanted to be able to take her a 6-pack of Dr. Pepper. So we got that so he could take that to her. But he was sad because she was leaving and he liked her. That was my elementary school son. Okay. Middle school, I'm the same mother who, when my middle school son started, going through things or whatever and wasn't doing his homework and all of that, I'm the same mother that whose teacher, to help him catch up in math, gave him a whole packet of math work uh, that it took us a couple of hours to sit down and work through. And I remember sitting down in the floor with him and we worked through. I let him do the work, but I was right there with him and helping him so he could catch up. I did some of that in high school too, but that began to come with consequences. Okay. So I'm the same mother who, when my son was a toddler, he used to have trouble sleeping, and he would be just really at not at ease sleeping. He would be disturbed in his sleep, and he got that, and I'm not running his father down, but he got that from his dad because his dad told me, my ex-husband, that he would be tormented, in the night and not able to sleep. Well, I'm the same mother that would wake up in the night when he would have those disturbances in sleep, and I put my toddler son on the couch and stayed right there on the couch as he slept and spoke a scripture over him. It is useless, and I forget the exact scripture, but it said it is useless to stay up and to worry. I'm paraphrasing. When the Lord gives his beloved sleep, I spoke that over him, not one night, not 2 nights, not a month. I spoke that I would get him when he was having trouble sleeping, put him on the couch, and I'd be up. I had, because you gonna sleep if you mind, and spoke that scripture over him until he became the best sleeping somebody in the house. I'm talking about balance and a real God and real love. But I'm the same mother who, when he was in high school, senior year, and I'm having to email teachers back and forth about work and help him catch up with work, and that put my foot down and said, listen, this is your life. I got my degree. I've graduated high school and I have my college degree. This is your diploma, high school diploma. This is your life. What you gonna do with it? That's what I said to her. This is the same mother who, when a teacher called me about some behavior with him, and I called him, and the teacher called me at work, and so I called him, and I said, I don't have time to talk right now. I'm at work, but I got a call from your teacher. But I'm gonna be off by this time, and I'm gonna be sitting in a parking lot. You need to call me at 3 o'clock. My phone rang at 3 p.m. on the dot. And I told him, I said, you need to let me know what kind of life you plan on living. This is a quote. So I'll know if I need to go ahead and write you off now. I love my son. And I gave you examples of the love that will make you a sandwich, and the love that'll slap the hell out of you and walk off. And I've never done the slapping part. I've never done. Never done that. But just an example. So why are you saying this, Lolita? The light, airy, fluffy God is love and bubbles blowing out the scapegoat and everything's, but I don't know that God. And I was raised in Christianity. The God I know crushed me. And I feel better than I have ever felt in my life. But I've come through some things. The God I know allowed life things to happen to me. Well, whether you call it higher power, higher self, what allowed some things to happen to me in childhood. And there are things that a child, if they experience, the mind can't deal with. So it pushes it down, and that child forgets it. Until one night, after going to college, getting married after college, trigger warning, getting married after college, a couple of years after being married, had my first child. A couple of years after having my first child, had my second child. Being a wife, being a mother. And was it in my 30s? I went to bed one night and went to sleep. But I was awakened out of my sleep because I heard, and this was in the spirit, but I heard it. It was something, it sounded like an old locked chest, a key being turned in it, and that chest being opened. And that's when I began to remember what had happened to me as a child. And I began to process through that. I went through extreme sadness to where I wasn't working at the time. I was a stay-at-home mother. I would get my children ready for school, take them to school. My husband would be at work. I'd come home, play Pac-Man. We had a little Pac-Man game that you could hook up to the TV. And I'd sit there and play Pac-Man and cry. I mean, tears rolling, just sitting there crying because my soul was beginning to heal from the memory. The memory had been brought back to me when I heard that clicking in the spirit that sounded like an old chest. And you don't cry like that for no reason. Because some people lie to you and tell you, oh, that never happened. You're lying. You're crazy. You don't cry like that. I'm talking to somebody. You don't cry like that for no reason. Those tears don't come from nowhere. I can't tell you, I'm 57 now, when the last time I've been able to just sit down and boohoo, even feeling sad about something, and wanted to sit down and shed a few tears. And it's like Divine said, you're healed. You didn't like what happened to you. I'm gonna give you 2 or 3 tears, and y'all, that's all I can get out. Cause it's like Divine is saying, I've walked you through a process, you healed, and damn it, these people ain't worth your tears. I'll give you 2, 3 tears to cry, and that's all you got. It's not even a choice. But back then, all the waters flowed, and I went through sadness. Then I went through anger. the healing process. Okay. That aside, went through a divorce, had to start all over. I'm the one that moved out, found my own place, all of that. Been financial ups and downs, all of that. Stayed with people for a while that I thought when I didn't have a choice for I think it was about 3 or 4 months and was treated like an irrelevant newspaper from about 200 years ago. You know, okay. Lived out of a suite with my teenage daughter for 3.5 years. Worked on my credit. It went from, like I said, eviction to living with somebody for 4 months, and the person kept asking me. I need to. They would wait till my daughter was at school. I need to know when you're moving out. You 40 years old and blah 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 and this that and the other. And you blah blah. And you still go all this stuff. Then when I moved out and found a place to go, extended stay 3.5 years with my daughter. People didn't approve of my decisions because I had to go. I ended up across town, and that changed my daughter's schools. People had a lot to say about that. Ups and downs of life. Worked on my credit, built my credit, and all of that back up from being divorced and the things that you go through financially with a spouse and all of this stuff. Then got an apartment, lived in the apartment for almost 2 years, then got a house. Okay. And I mean, this is just random stuff I'm telling you. I have to actually remember, it has to be brought back to my remembrance some of the things I've gone through to be able to tell a story. There's a lot. So my point is, and this is really just some of the light stuff. Um, having gone through all that, and then religious trauma. Now, I'm not talking about hurt, people in church hurting your feelings. I could give a damn about that. The trauma of really believing the message of a religion being handed to you, where you give your life to it. You're not just there by default. You're not just there because it's something to do. You really believed that message. And if you kept fasting and kept praying and kept reading and kept studying and kept shouting and didn't care who knew that you were a Jesus freak, and didn't care that it looked crazy that you were speaking in tongues and put asking to be able to access the church through the week when nobody's there so you could lay on the altar for hours. Believing for what was shown to you, shown to you personally and prophesied to you. And then message after message, you're faithful going to church, faithful singing, faithful, all of this stuff. And to keep hearing the message at the end of every year, it's coming. What you're believing for is coming. Jesus is going to do it. To One day, I was drinking some coffee, and I think I had taken my daughter to school or somewhere. I had taken her somewhere, and I was on my way back to the suite. We were living out of a suite. And I had my coffee, and I heard Spirit say, I want to talk to you about religion and about Jesus. That's when I began to come out of religion. Yeah, my heater just popped on. Sorry about that. Um, and that's when I began to come out of religion. Okay. To the point, and this was a process coming out, and I had to be walked out. Spirit had to walk me out through various, it was a process. And my daughter and I got dressed for church one Sunday, and it was toward the end of a year. We were living out of the suite, like I'm telling you, and I'm believing God for a better life and believing Jesus for a better life and blah, 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 this, that, and the other, reading, studying. And we get ready and go to church. We get to church, we would get coffee on the way to church and just kind of stroll in and talk. And I remember we were going to a mega church in Nashville. And I remember sitting in the balcony and listening to the pastor preach. And he said, if you're going through, because I remember he had done a series about Job. And that last sermon, he said, he tied it up with, if you're going through, tie a knot in the rope and hang on. I told my daughter, I said, that's my cue. I said, let's go. And I have not been to church since. It's a cycle that never brings into fruition what it promises. However, when I left religion and just began to depend only on divine, that's when things started changing for me. I can only tell my story. Let me wrap my point up. Here's my point of telling you some of the things that I've been through. And like I said, those were just a few examples. The God I know, divine I know, higher power I know, crushed me. You know how you get the wine and the juice out of grapes? Crushed me. But I feel better than I've ever felt in my life. And I wouldn't take anything for what I've been through. And though I cried my way through, one thing about me, I can't even tell you I ever felt like giving up, because it wouldn't be true. My point is that love has balance, and I don't know a fluffy God. I don't know just God is love, God or higher power. I know divine that will crush you to get the best out of you, that will crush you to shape your spirit and your being so that you can't be bought or sold, to prepare you for destiny. That's the one I know. And this is the point I want to get to. And I'm going to close it out. When you have been put through that kind of crushing to where you carry an extremely potent oil in your being. Anything, let me say what I mean. Anybody, any person, I don't care the name, I don't care the title that they have in your life, that does not respect you and disregards that. I'm not talking about worshiping, but I'm talking about these people that want to be in your life, that feel entitled to you, but they think you're supposed to hold them at some kind of high regard. And yet everybody has people that they look up to, that they respect. Iron sharpens iron. But I'm talking about people that want to be in your life and look down on you. People who see something on you and want to use it, but don't want to acknowledge to you that it's there. Don't want you to know that there's something special about you. You do not go through that kind of a crushing and that kind of a process to hang around some buzzers. And I don't care what title they have in your life. When you have been crushed and are being crushed, and you're being shaped and molded to where there is something very unique about your being, about your presence. You cannot allow. Now, I'm not talking about high-mindedness and what do you call it? Delusions of grandeur. I'm talking about life experiences that you trust, that you really know that you've been through, and divine was guiding and shaping you through it. I'm not talking about delusions, y'all. And that not only is your pain and your crushing shaping you so you can help other people, is shaping you to enjoy life at a certain level. And there are certain people placed in your life to be obstacles. It is for you to recognize that and get those people the hell away from you. I do not care their title. That's all I wanted to say. I don't know Fluffy. I know real divine, a real process, a real crushing, and a real coming out and a healing. And I don't say this in haughtiness or high-mindedness, but I say it in confidence. When you crush what's in me, can and I'm just going to give it, it's going to sound crazy. In the closest scripture I can give to you, not that I'm relying on the script, weak things confound wise, thing that seems crazy or out of to the human mind brings healing. Remember, y'all, some of y'all that believe in Jesus, uh, caused a blind man to see, spitting, making spittle and putting that on somebody's eyes. When you know that what has been worked out in you, you have the being that can I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that. This is all I wanted to say. A real God brings out real results. And once you have come to that place, and it's an ongoing process, you cannot be around any and everybody. There's a certain tribe for you, and you will and shall find that tribe. That's all I want to say. Good night.